Peasenhall is a small remote Suffolk village which hit the headlines in 1902. At Providence House on 31st May that year, during a hot summer night and a violent thunderstorm, 22-year-old Roseanne Harsent was murdered. It was believed she'd arranged to meet her lover that night, so was he her killer. The murder rocked the community. Rose had been born on 17th December 1879. In 1900, she went to work as a maid for elderly couple William and Georgiana Crisp at Providence House. She was the daughter of a labourer, and although she had little education, she was intelligent and wanted to make a better life for herself. She knew Peasenhall was dominated by the local Methodist chapel, which offered friendship, so began attending. The Crisps were kind to her, and she could come and go as she pleased during her free time. Her bedroom was accessed directly from the kitchen, so she could do this without disturbing them. Rose was engaged to Bob Kerridge. Her fiancé told her he wanted to buy her an organ, even though she couldn't play. William Gardner was an accomplished organist, so took on Rose to teach her. He also managed to entice her to help out at the Sunday school, and she also cleaned the chapel, so was spending more and more time with Gardner. Soon he was writing letters to Rose, even though they lived reasonably close. They even began to go out for walks together. Gardner was a married man. He'd married Georgiana Cady, daughter of a Methodist grocer, against her father's wishes. He became a foreman at the local Smith's Drill Works, representing them at the Paris exhibition in 1900, and was seen as a devoted family man to his 6 children. Men at the works didn't like him, however, and Bill Wright, a wheelwright at the works, began to spread rumours about him, saying he was a self-serving hypocrite. Gardner wrote to Rose, telling her there were scandalous rumours going round that they were meeting in the chapel for immoral purposes. He also told her he wanted a written apology from Wright. But was this a ruse? Was he more concerned about his own reputation? Gardner found himself in front of the elders to account for his actions. He told them he wasn't guilty, explaining a door had jammed and that Wright had conjured up a nasty story. The elders believed Gardner, but he decided to step down anyway. He was told to distance himself from Rose, which he agreed to. At this time, Rose's fiancé broke off the engagement, and she was no longer welcome at the chapel, nor was she to partake in the Sunday school, and her organ lessons ceased. As for Gardner, his reputation was in tatters, but he soon managed to regain his position in the chapel, but Rose remained an outcast. Soon she had something else to worry about. She was pregnant. One day, Fred Davis, a local delivery boy, visited Rose at Peasenhall to drop off some goods when she asked him to do something for her. A short time later, he'd handed over the manual she'd asked for on contraception and termination. Having a baby out of wedlock wasn't an option if she wanted to keep her position, and knew she would end up in the workhouse. She wanted to keep the baby, but avoid ruin. There was only one option: to get married. Gardner, meanwhile, received an anonymous letter which stated he was still seeing Rose, and that the writer would denounce him in the chapel. It had come from Henry Rouse of the Methodist Church. In May 1902, the summer heat had arrived. It was warm, dry, and airless for weeks. On Saturday, 31st May, it broke, and the thunderstorm raged. That night, Gardner's wife found out that Rose was with child. Rose was roused by a noise downstairs, thinking it may have been Gardner, crept down, then was savagely attacked in the kitchen. When she was found on the morning of Sunday 1st June covered in blood by her father William, the police initially put her death down to her taking her own life, but following the opening of an inquest by Coroner C.W. Chaston, on behalf of Coroner Garrard at the Swan Inn in Peasenhall, it was ruled out. She had cuts to her shoulders and stab wounds on her body, while the front of her nightdress had been burned. During a search of her room, police discovered letters written by William Gardner, as well as letters from other people. One such letter was about a meeting at midnight on the night she died, and to put a candle in her window if it was safe to do so. But who had written it? A broken medicine bottle labelled Gardner was also found at the scene of the crime, giving the police what they needed. Dr. Charles Edward Lay later confirmed that he'd been the one to prescribe the medicine to Mrs. Gardner for her children. Mrs. Harsent said she'd last seen her daughter on 28th May when she appeared to be in good health and bright, but she did have suspicions that she was pregnant. Rose had told her it was only a thick bodice. Soon, Gardner was arrested, and police were convinced he'd murdered her. He stood trial at Ipswich Assizes on 7th November 1902, before Sir William Grantham, lasting 3 days. The prosecution case was led by Henry Fielding Dickens. The post-mortem had revealed Rose was 6 months pregnant. So was this a motive for him killing her? The letter regarding the candle, the prosecution claimed, was a signal for Gardner that it was safe to meet. The jury couldn't agree, so a second trial was arranged. At his second trial, which began on Wednesday 21st January 1903, before Justice Sir John Compton Lawrence, once more they couldn't reach a unanimous verdict. On both occasions he'd been defended by Ernest Wilde. The Attorney General intervened and ordered that Gardner would not be sent to trial for a third time. He was released at 8:30 p.m. on Friday 29th January, with a cab taking him to a private residence in Ipswich. He had neither been condemned nor acquitted. That left the question, who killed Rose Harsent? Was it Gardner? Or was it Bob Kerridge, her former fiancé? What about the delivery boy, Fred Davis? After all, she'd refused his advances, but, as she'd confided in him, it seems she saw him as a friend. Alfred Goodchild was also seen as a suspect for a time. She'd flirted with him and saw him as a potential husband of better prospects than her fiancé Kerridge, but he wasn't interested. Some thought it was Henry Rouse, a notably unpleasant man, and he did have a motive in that he hated Gardner. But was he capable of murder? Was it Gardner's wife, Georgie? She'd been content. Then Rose had shown up. Her baby had died, and her husband had been accused of impropriety, although acquitted. Now it was rumoured Rose was pregnant with her husband's child. That night it was nearly midnight, but she still hadn't gone to bed as usual with Gardner. She was nursing her son, and possibly her wrath. Perhaps she left and headed to the house to have it out with Rose. Had she surreptitiously taken a knife? Did she have murderous intent? Had the bottle fallen out of her pocket and been left as evidence that she'd been there? If she was responsible, she told no one. Police from the outset never believed they were looking for a woman, so had Georgie Gardner got away with murder? Following the collapse of his case, Gardner and his wife moved away from Peasenhall to Norwood, where they opened up a shop. He died in 1941. To date, no one has been brought to justice for the murder of Rose Harsent, and her case remains unsolved.